A small Earthship landed on the dusty surface of Kepler 438b with a soft hiss. Commander Eric Powell checked the oxygen readings one last time before nodding to his team of 5. This was supposed to be a simple mission: find rare minerals, take samples, and head back to Earth. No one expected it to change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. Atmosphere is breathable, but thin. Keep your emergency masks handy, Eric said, adjusting his uniform. He was 42, with short brown hair going gray at the temples, and eyes that had seen too many strange worlds to be easily surprised. Lisa Reeves, the communications specialist, tapped her tablet. All channels open, Commander. If anything out there wants to talk, we'll hear it. She was the youngest on the team at 29, with a talent for understanding patterns in alien communications that computers couldn't match. The loading ramp descended, revealing the rust-colored landscape. Stretching to the horizon, strange rock formations jutted from the ground like the spines of buried giants. The 2 suns in the sky cast overlapping shadows that made the terrain look even more alien. Dr. Alan Miller hung back, checking his medical kit one last time. He was 36, quiet and methodical. The team often joked that he spoke less than 10 sentences a day unless there was an emergency. "Something wrong, Doc?" asked Sam Garcia, the security officer. He kept one hand near his weapon out of habit, not necessity. Alan shook his head. "Just a feeling. This planet, it reminds me of something I can't quite place." The 5th team member, Olivia Foster, was already scanning the ground with her geological equipment. "There's definitely something interesting in those rock formations. High concentrations of elements we don't even have names for yet." Eric led the way down the ramp. "Standard protocol. We stay together, collect samples for 2 hours, then head back to the ship. No heroics, no souvenirs." They had barely walked 50 meters from their ship when the ground trembled. At first, they thought it might be a small earthquake, until a shadow fell across them. The creature appeared on top of a nearby ridge, silhouetted against the twin suns. It was massive, easily 3 meters tall, with a body covered in scales that shifted colors like oil on water. 6 limbs ended in claws that looked sharp enough to slice through metal. Its head was reptilian, with a crest of spines and multifaceted eyes that gleamed with intelligence. Sam raised his weapon, but Eric held up his hand. "Hold. It hasn't made any aggressive moves." The creature studied them for a long moment, then descended the ridge with surprising grace for something so large. It stopped 20 meters away and raised its upper limbs in what might have been a greeting. "Fascinating," whispered Lisa, who had activated her portable translator. "It's emitting sounds in a pattern consistent with language." The translator hummed, processing, then produced a rough approximation of speech. "Visitors from beyond. Small and soft. Interesting." Eric stepped forward, keeping his hands visible. "We are humans from the planet Earth. Our visit is peaceful. We seek only knowledge." The creature's scales rippled in patterns of blue and gold. The translator caught its response. "I am Vexther the Unstoppable, conqueror of the 17 systems, devourer of the mighty. You stand in my hunting grounds." Eric felt a drop of sweat roll down his back, despite the environmental controls in his suit. "We apologize for the intrusion. We did not know this planet was claimed." Vexther moved closer, its massive head lowering. To study Eric, the translator continued. "Your species is unknown to me, yet there is something ... familiar." Its gaze shifted, looking past Eric to where Alan stood. The creature's reaction was subtle but unmistakable. A slight recoil, scales flashing briefly to a deep purple before returning to their shimmering pattern. "You," Vexther addressed Alan. "Directly, step forward." Eric glanced back at his medical officer, who looked as confused as everyone else. Alan hesitated, then moved to stand beside his commander. Vexter circled them slowly, keeping a careful distance from Alan. Your scent carries echoes of the old terror. How is this possible? Lisa's translator struggled with the phrase, offering several possible meanings. Alan shook his head, bewildered. I don't understand what you mean. The alien predator made a sound like grinding metal, which the translator identified as laughter. Of course you don't. The knowledge must have been lost. Perhaps that is why your kind still lives. Eric tried to regain control of the conversation. We represent the Earth Space Corps. We seek peaceful relations with all intelligent species. Peace. Vexter repeated the word as if testing it. An interesting concept from prey species. Yet you do not behave as prey. Sam tensed at the word prey, but maintained discipline. Vexter continued. I have conquered 17 star systems. I have subjugated species with technology far beyond what you appear to possess. Yet you stand before me without trembling. We mean no disrespect, Eric said carefully. We simply don't know enough about you to fear you appropriately. This produced another grinding laugh from the alien. Your honesty is refreshing. Most species attempt to impress me with false bravery. Lisa noticed something odd. Despite its boasts and intimidating appearance, Vexter maintained a respectful distance from the humans, particularly from Alan. It would approach the others more closely, but always kept extra space between itself and the doctor. Your species intrigues me, Vexter announced. I have heard whispers about humans from the far reaches of the galaxy, strange stories that seemed impossible. Now I wonder if they might be true. The alien reached into a pouch-like structure on its torso and removed a small crystal device. It placed this on the ground halfway between them. A gesture of curiosity. This will allow your translators to better understand my language. Olivia scanned it quickly. No detectable power source. No radiation. Seemed safe. Lisa collected the device, interfacing it with her translator. Immediately, Vexter's speech became clearer. I wish to learn more before I decide your fate. Alien said, my flagship orbits this world. I extend an invitation for you to visit as my guests. Safe passage is guaranteed. Eric didn't miss the implied threat in, before I decide your fate, but maintained a diplomatic tone. We would need to consult with our superiors. Of course, Vexter said. You have 3 of your Earth days to decide. The alien's gaze fixed on Alan again. Particularly, I wish to learn more about this one. With that, Vexter backed away, still keeping extra distance from Alan. A shimmering field appeared around the alien, and it vanished from sight. The team stood in stunned silence for several seconds. Well, Sam finally said, that was unexpected. Back on their ship, the team debated fiercely whether to accept the invitation. Lisa and Olivia argued that the scientific and diplomatic opportunity was too valuable to pass up. Sam insisted it was obviously a trap. Eric turned to Alan, who had been uncharacteristically quiet even for him. You've barely said a word, Doc. The alien seemed particularly interested in you. Any thoughts? Alan looked up from the medical scanner he'd been studying. There's something not adding up here. That creature clearly sees itself as an apex predator, yet it showed caution around me, specifically. You noticed that too? Lisa asked. I thought I was imagining it. Alan shook his head. It wasn't your imagination. And there's something else. He held up his scanner. When it approached us, I took some readings. Its biological responses showed signs of stress and elevated threat awareness, particularly when it got close to me. Are you saying it was afraid? Of you? Sam asked incredulously. Not exactly afraid, Alan said softly. More like ... respectful caution. The kind of reaction you'd show to something potentially dangerous. And I think we need to find out why. 3 days later, a larger Earth ship approached Vexthor's flagship. After intense debate and communication with Earth Command, they had decided to accept the aliens' invitation. The original 5 crew members were now joined by additional personnel, including Dr. Corinne Wright, a renowned xenobiologist with 15 years of experience studying alien psychology. Commander Eric Powell watched through the viewscreen as Vexthor's massive vessel came into view. It resembled a twisted cathedral carved from dark metal and crystal, stretching nearly 2 kilometers from end to end. "That's intimidating," Karen said, standing beside Eric on the bridge. She was in her mid-40s, with curly red hair pulled back in a practical bun, clearly designed to inspire awe and fear. Eric nodded. "That seems to be Vexthor's style." Their communication system activated, and Vexthor's translated voice filled the bridge. "Welcome, humans. Follow the guidance beacon to Docking Bay 7. A small shuttle transported the human delegation from their ship to the massive alien flagship. Besides Eric, Karen, Lisa, Sam, Olivia, and Alan, they brought along 3 diplomatic officers and 2 additional security personnel. As they approached the docking bay, they got a closer look at the bizarre architecture of the vessel. Organic curves, mixed with geometric precision in ways that seemed to defy structural logic. "It's beautiful in a terrifying way," Lisa whispered. Shuttle passed through a shimmering energy field and landed in a cavernous docking bay. Various alien vessels were stored there, each more exotic than the last. Small creatures scurried around, performing maintenance tasks as the humans disembarked. They were met by 2 aliens similar to Vexthor, but smaller, with duller scales. They bowed slightly to the humans. "The Great Hunter welcomes you," one said through their now enhanced translators. "We will escort you to your quarters. You may rest and refresh yourselves before the formal reception." As they walked through the winding corridors of the ship, the humans noticed something odd. The vessel contained an ecosystem of different alien species, all going about various tasks. Many stopped to stare at the humans, particularly at Alan. Some even approached with expressions that seemed like awe. Whispering among themselves, Karen stayed close to Alan, observing these reactions with professional interest. "They're treating you like a celebrity," she murmured. "Or something they've heard about, but never expected to see." Alan shifted uncomfortably. "I don't understand why. I'm nothing special." They were shown to a suite of rooms adapted for human biology, with appropriate gravity, temperature, and atmospheric conditions. The accommodations were surprisingly comfortable. "We will return in 3 hours to escort you to the Great Hunters. Feast," one of their guides said before departing. Once alone, the humans checked for surveillance devices. Finding several, they moved to a small garden area where the running water might interfere with audio monitoring. "Thoughts so far?" Eric asked the group. Karen spoke first. "This ship contains at least 12 different sentient species that I could identify. They don't appear to be prisoners. Many wear what look like insignia of rank or position. Voluntary service?" Sam suggested skeptically. "Possibly," Karen replied. "Or a very sophisticated form of control. But here's what's most interesting. I've been watching how they react to us, especially to Dr. Miller. When he walks into a room, even Vexthor's personal guards subtly shift their positions. It's almost like ... double quotes. Like what?" Alan asked. "Like they're showing deference," Karen said. "The kind predatory animals show to a more dominant predator." Before they could discuss further, a soft chime indicated someone at their door. Lisa opened it to find a small humanoid alien with pale blue skin and large, silvery eyes. "The feast preparation is complete earlier than expected," the alien said with a slight bow. "The Great Hunter requests your presence now." The humans followed their new guide through more winding corridors. Other aliens moved aside for them, some pressing against walls as Alan passed by. The banquet hall was enormous, with a high ceiling made of some transparent material that showed the stars outside. A long table was set with various foods and drinks. At the head sat Vexter, now adorned with metallic ornaments that caught the light as it moved. "Welcome, humans of Earth." Vexter's voice boomed across the hall. "Be seated and share sustenance." The humans were directed to seats along one side of the table. Eric noticed that Alan was placed directly across from Vexter. Other alien species occupied the remaining seats, all watching the humans with obvious curiosity. "I have provided foods compatible with your biology," Vexter explained. "My scientists studied your vessel's food stores to create these synthesized versions." The human dishes appeared similar to Earth foods: meat, vegetables, and fruits arranged attractively. Meanwhile, Vexter made a show of consuming live prey, swallowing small squirming creatures whole. Throughout the meal, Vexter told tales of conquests and hunts across the stars. It described battling massive creatures on gas giants and subjugating civilizations that had once ruled dozens of systems. "And now," Vexter said, fixing its gaze on Alan, "I wish to learn more about humans, particularly about your biological variations." Alan looked confused. "I'm not sure what you mean." "Your species shows remarkable diversity, does it not? Genetic differences that create unique individuals?" Karen spoke up. "Yes, human genetic diversity is quite extensive compared to some species." Vexter's scales rippled with colors. "And you," it addressed Alan directly, "carry a genetic pattern different from your companions." Alan shifted uncomfortably. "Yes, I have Miller-Jensen syndrome. It's a rare condition that affects my biochemistry, but it's harmless. About 1 in 10 million humans has it." This announcement caused a stir among the other aliens at the table. Some made sounds that the translators couldn't interpret, while others seemed to edge away from Alan. Eric watched carefully as Vexthera's demeanor changed subtly. The alien predator was performing, watching the humans, especially Alan, for reactions. When Alan excused himself briefly to use the human-adapted facilities, Karen seized the opportunity to observe the room's reaction. The tension visibly decreased, and several aliens began speaking in low tones. One smaller alien server approached Karen while pouring a drink. It leaned close and whispered, "The quiet one bears the scent. How can your kind control such power? Can remain so gentle?" Before Karen could ask what this meant, the alien moved away quickly as Alan returned. Vexter immediately rose to its full impressive height. "I wish to show you something," the alien announced. "Something no other species has been permitted to see my private hunting grounds, where I keep specimens from thousands of worlds." The humans exchanged glances. This seemed significant. "We would be honored," Eric replied formally. As they left the banquet hall, Karen fell into step beside Eric. "Commander, something very strange is happening here," she whispered. "Did you notice how everyone reacted when Alan mentioned his condition?" Eric nodded. "And that comment about the scent. What do you make of it?" "I'm not sure yet," Karen replied. "But I think we're about to find out why one of the most feared predators in the galaxy seems afraid of our quiet doctor." Vexter led them to a massive elevator that carried them deeper into the ship. As they descended, the alien explained, "For generations, my kind has collected specimens from across the galaxy. Some for study, some for sport, some for—" It paused, searching for the right word: historical significance. The elevator doors opened to reveal a long corridor with transparent walls on both sides. Behind these walls were carefully constructed habitats containing creatures of all descriptions, some beautiful, some terrifying, all clearly from worlds far from Earth. "My personal collection," Vexter announced with pride. "Over 800 species from 17 star systems." As they walked slowly down the corridor, the humans marveled at the diversity of life forms. But Eric and Karen both noticed something. Odd many of the predatory creatures in the habitats backed away when Alan approached the glass. Eric pulled Karen aside while the others moved ahead. "What's going on?" he whispered. "This supposedly unstoppable conqueror is practically tiptoeing around our doctor." Karen had been observing carefully. "I think it's afraid of him, or something about him. Notice how all the predator species in these habitats react when Alan approaches the glass. They back away. But why?" Eric pressed. "I have a theory," Karen said, "but it sounds crazy even to me." They hurried to catch up with the group as Vexter led them deeper into the collection. The alien predator was explaining the origins of various species, occasionally demonstrating their hunting behaviors by triggering feeding responses. "And now," Vexter said, stopping before a sealed doorway at the end of the corridor, "I will show you my most valuable specimen, one that no other visitors have ever been permitted to see." The door slid open to reveal a smaller room with a single habitat in the center. Inside was a modest enclosure designed to look like a forest clearing. At first, the humans couldn't see any creature inside. Then something moved, a small, fluffy animal that resembled a cross between a rabbit and a cat emerged from a burrow. It had oversized eyes, a gentle demeanor, and soft fur in shades of blue and purple. It looked completely harmless. "The meek thee," Vexter announced, voice filled with what the translator interpreted as reverence. The humans returned to their quarters after the revelation about Alan and the meek thee. Everyone had questions, but Alan seemed the most shaken by the news. "All my life, doctors told me my condition was just a random genetic quirk," he said, sitting heavily on one of the cushioned benches in their common area. "Now I find out it connects me to an alien species from across the galaxy." Karen was running tests on a small sample of Alan's blood that he had allowed her to take. She looked up from her portable analyzer with wide eyes. "The similarities are remarkable," she said. "Based on the data Vexter shared about the meek-thee toxin, your blood contains compounds that are nearly identical. The condition affects less than 0.01% of humans, but that still means about 7 million people on Earth have some version of it." Eric paced the room. "This changes everything about our place in the galaxy. We're not just another species stumbling into space. We apparently have a biological connection to a race that even the mighty Vexter fears. It explains the whispers Vexter mentioned hearing about humans from the far reaches of the galaxy," Lisa added. "Other species must have encountered humans with Miller-Jensen syndrome before and recognized the connection." The door chimed, and Sam checked the monitor. "It's Vexter," he announced, looking to Eric for instructions. "Let it in," the commander decided. The door slid open, and Vexter entered, having to duck its massive frame to fit through the human-sized doorway. For the first time, the humans noticed that the alien predator was not wearing any weapons or armor. "I come alone as a gesture of trust," Vexter said. "My kind does not easily trust, but these are unusual circumstances." "We appreciate that," Eric replied. "We have many questions." Vexter's scales shifted to a calm blue pattern. "As do the first, but first, I must explain something important about my species and our place in the galaxy." The alien settled onto the floor, bringing its eye level closer to the seated humans. "For millennia, my kind has ruled through strength and fear. We evolved as apex predators and continued that role among the stars. When we discovered space travel, we found most other intelligent species were prey animals by nature, cautious, cooperative, inclined toward peace. And easy to conquer," Sam said flatly. "Yes," Vexter acknowledged without shame. "We believed this was the natural order. Predators rule, prey serve, until we encountered the meek-thee." Vexter's scales darkened. They were small, seemingly defenseless. We thought they would be simple to subjugate. We were wrong. Their defensive evolution had produced a neurotoxin specifically effective against our biology. One bite from a meek thief could kill even our strongest warriors. But they didn't wipe you out, Karen observed. They let you retreat. Correct, Vexter said, sounding impressed. They had no interest in conquest or revenge. Once we no longer threatened them, they let us leave their world. It was confusing to my ancestors. Mercy was not a concept we understood. The alien turned to face Alan directly. And now here you are, a species carrying their biochemical signature but using it only as defense, never as a weapon. Your kind presents a paradox. You harbor the power to destroy us, yet you use restraint. You seek cooperation rather than dominance. That's generally how humans prefer to operate, Eric said, though our history isn't perfect. No species? History is perfect, Vexter replied. But your approach raises questions about our own. For countless generations, we believed strength was measured by one's ability to conquer and control. Yet here you are, potentially more dangerous to us than any species we've encountered, offering friendship instead of demanding submission. The alien rose to its full height again. I propose a test. The humans tensed. Sam's hand moved subtly toward his concealed weapon. What kind of test? Eric asked cautiously. I have a creature in my collection. We call it the Shadow Stalker. It is one of the most dangerous predators in 3 systems, responsible for the extinction of 2 intelligent species before we managed to capture one. Its hunting abilities are second only to my kind. Vexter's multifaceted eyes fixed on Alan. I propose to release it into a controlled arena. Dr. Miller will enter unarmed, protected only by his biochemistry. If the Shadow Stalker recognizes the threat he represents, as I believe it will, this will prove to all my kind that humans must be respected, not hunted. Absolutely not, Eric said immediately. We're not putting one of our people at risk for some demonstration. The risk would be minimal, Vexter insisted. The arena has multiple safety measures. I would not suggest it otherwise. It's out of the question, Eric repeated firmly. I'll do it, Alan said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him in surprise. Alan, no, Karen protested. We don't know enough about how these creatures will react to you. Actually, we do, Alan replied. We've seen how they respond when I approach their habitats. And this isn't just about me. It's about establishing humanity's place in the galaxy without warfare. He looked at Vexter. But I want guarantees of safety, and I want to understand exactly what this demonstration will prove to your people. Vexter's scales rippled with colors that suggested respect. It would prove that humans are not to be treated as prey or subjects, but as equals or even superiors in the natural order. It would change how my entire species views your kind, and potentially how we view ourselves. Eric pulled Alan aside. I can't order you not to do this as a civilian specialist, but I strongly advise against it. We don't need to prove anything. To them, don't we? Alan asked. Right now, Vexter is treating us with respect because of me. But what about the next human ship they encounter? What about other predatory species? This could prevent conflicts before they start. Karen joined them. Alan's right about one thing. This could establish an important precedent. But there must be a safer way to demonstrate it. Vexter watched their discussion with interest. Your concern for each other's safety is another trait my kind finds difficult to understand. Among my species, each individual must prove their own worth or perish. That's not how humans work, Lisa explained. We value each life. We protect each other. Another paradox, Vexter noted. Perhaps that is why you developed differently from us, despite similar predatory origins. After much debate, a compromise was reached. Alan would enter the arena, but with significant safety measures in place. The Shadow Stalker would not be fully released, but kept on a specialized restraint. That would allow it to approach Alan, but not attack. Human security personnel would be positioned around the arena with weapons, designed to incapacitate the creature if necessary. News of the demonstration spread quickly through Vexther's flagship. Aliens of various species gathered in an observation area above the circular arena. The Shadow Stalker was brought in, a sinuous, semi-transparent creature with countless teeth and limbs that seemed to appear and disappear as it moved, making it difficult to track. Alan stood in the center of the arena, wearing only his standard uniform. He looked small and vulnerable compared to the predator circling the perimeter. "Begin the demonstration," Vexther commanded from an elevated platform. The Shadow Stalker's restraints were loosened, allowing it more freedom of movement. It immediately focused on Alan, its body language suggesting it had identified potential prey. It moved closer in a stalking pattern, using its natural camouflage to become nearly invisible. Alan remained still, his heart racing, but his expression calm. He trusted the safety measures, but more importantly, he trusted what they had learned about his condition. The Shadow Stalker circled closer, now just 10 meters away. Then something changed. It stopped advancing and began making a low, keening sound. Its stalking posture shifted to one that seemed defensive. It tested the air with sensory appendages, then backed away. The assembled aliens murmured in surprise. The Shadow Stalker, terror of 3 systems, was retreating from an unarmed human. Vexther's voice boomed through the arena. "The demonstration is conclusive. The human carries the Make-Thee blessing, yet chooses peace over dominance. This changes everything." News of the arena demonstration spread rapidly through not just Vexther's flagship, but to other vessels in the aliens' fleet. Within hours, delegations from various species under Vexther's rule requested permission to meet the humans, particularly Alan. "You've become a celebrity overnight," Eric told Alan as they gathered in their quarters. "How are you holding up?" Alan looked tired but thoughtful. "It's a lot to process. Yesterday, I was just a doctor with a weird medical condition. Today, I'm apparently the living embodiment of some ancient alien defense mechanism." The door chimed, and Lisa opened it to find one of Vexther's assistants. "The Great Hunter requests your presence in the council chamber. Representatives from 17 systems have assembled." The humans exchanged nervous glances. This was escalating. "Quickly, tell Vexther we'll be there shortly," Eric replied. After the assistant left, Eric turned to his team. "This is moving beyond a simple first contact situation. We need to be careful about establishing precedents for future human-alien relations." Karen nodded. "Especially since we now know there are potentially millions of humans with variations of Alan's condition. We don't want other species to start seeking them out or avoiding them based on misconceptions." They made their way to the council chamber, a vast circular room with tiered seating. Aliens of all descriptions filled the seats, creating a living rainbow of colors, textures, and forms. Some appeared roughly humanoid, while others were utterly alien in design, floating gas sacs, crystalline structures, and things that seemed to be living liquid. Vexther sat on a raised platform at the flat center. The alien predator now wore ceremonial armor, decorated with symbols the humans couldn't interpret. As they entered, Vexther rose and extended all 6 limbs in what appeared to be a formal greeting. "Behold the humans of Earth," Vexther announced. "Carriers of the Make-Thee blessing, yet wielders of reason rather than fear." The assembled aliens made various sounds and gestures that the translators interpreted as expressions of awe, respect, and curiosity. Vexther continued, "For too long, my kind has ruled through strength alone. We believed this was the natural Order predators command, others obey. The humans show us a different path. They carry the power to destroy us, yet they offer cooperation instead. A large, insect-like alien rose from the assembly. How do we know this isn't some trick? One human with a defensive ability does not make their entire species worthy of special treatment. A fair question, Vexter acknowledged. Dr. Miller, would you explain to the council what your research has revealed? Alan stepped forward nervously. Public speaking had never been his strength, but he understood the importance of this moment. My condition, Miller-Jensen syndrome, affects approximately 7 million humans, he explained. But our research indicates that many more carry partial expressions of the genes involved. In fact, Dr. Wright's analysis suggests that certain elements of the MIG-Thi biochemistry have been incorporated throughout the human genome in varying degrees. Corinne added, based on genetic distribution patterns, we believe the MIG-Thi visited Earth between 50 and 70,000 years ago, during a critical period in human evolution. They may have deliberately altered our genetic code or simply left their mark through natural interaction. The insect-like alien clicked its mandibles skeptically. Even if this is true, why should it change the established order? The strong rule, the weak serve. This is the way of the universe. Eric stepped forward. With respect, that's not how humans see the universe. Throughout our history, we've learned that cooperation often achieves more than domination. Different strengths working together create something greater than any single power alone. Pretty words, rumbled a massive rock-like being from another tier. But your species is young. You have not yet faced the true harshness of the galaxy. Perhaps, Eric conceded, but we've faced plenty of harshness on our own world. We've had our share of predators and conquerors. We've learned that societies built on fear and force alone don't last. Vexter raised a limb for silence. I called this council not to debate philosophy, but to announce a decision. I have witnessed something unprecedented, the Shadow Stalker, a perfect killing machine, refusing to attack defenseless prey. This challenges everything we thought we knew about the natural order. The predator's scales shifted to deep purple tones. For millennia, my species has ruled through strength and fear. But your kind presents a paradox that forces us to reconsider our approach. You harbor the power to destroy us, yet you use restraint. You seek cooperation rather than dominance. Murmurs spread through the assembly. Some aliens seemed disturbed by this new direction, while others appeared relieved. Vexter continued, I propose a new form of relationship with Humanity One, based on mutual respect rather than dominance. A formal alliance between our species. This announcement caused an uproar in the chamber. Many aliens began speaking at once, some protesting, others supporting the idea. Eric looked to his team, seeing their shocked expressions. An alliance with Vexter's empire would dramatically change humanity's entry into the galactic community. This is beyond our authority to negotiate, Eric told Vexter once the noise had subsided somewhat. We would need to consult with our government. Of course, Vexter agreed. But first, there is one more demonstration I wish to make. The predator turned to Alan. Would you approach me, unarmed? The chamber fell silent. Everyone understood the significance of this request. Vexter, who had conquered 17 star systems and was feared throughout the galaxy, was inviting a potential deadly threat to come close. Alan hesitated, then walked forward slowly. He stopped a meter away from the massive alien predator. Vexter lowered itself until its head was level with Alan's. Then, in a gesture that shocked the entire assembly, the alien predator lowered its head further in what was unmistakably a bow. My species does not bow, Vexter explained, loud enough for all to hear. Not to anyone or anything. Yet today I bow to a human, not out of fear of his biochemistry, but out of respect for what his species represents, the possibility that power and mercy can exist together. The chamber erupted again, many aliens rising from their seats in shock. Or protest. This changes everything, Lisa whispered to Karen. The most feared predator in the galaxy just bowed to a human. Karen nodded. And not just any human, a doctor. Someone who heals rather than harms. As Vexter straightened, the alien scales displayed patterns never before seen by the human's complex swirls of blue, gold, and silver that seemed almost joyful. Your kind has taught me that there are different forms of strength, Vexter announced to the chamber. Perhaps the true apex predator is not the one with the sharpest claws, but the one who can turn enemies into allies. The council session continued for hours, with representatives from many species debating the implications of this new perspective. Some embraced the idea eagerly, particularly those from traditionally less aggressive species. Others remained skeptical, seeing it as a dangerous departure from the natural order. Throughout it all, Alan remained quiet, overwhelmed by his unexpected role in this historic moment. He had gone from being an ordinary doctor with a rare condition to becoming a symbol that could reshape relations between species across the galaxy. "Are you okay?" Eric asked him quietly during a break in the proceedings. Alan nodded slowly. "I think so. It's just a lot to take in. All my life, I thought my condition was just a medical footnote. Now it turns out it might be the key to preventing interstellar wars. That's quite a career change," Eric said with a smile. "I still want to be a doctor," Alan replied. "Just maybe with a slightly expanded practice." 6 months had passed since the historic meeting on Vexter's flagship. The news of a powerful galactic predator owing to a human spread quickly across known space. The story grew with each retelling, sometimes becoming more legend than fact. Some versions claimed Alan had tamed 1,000 alien beasts with a touch. Others said he had defeated Vexter in single combat. The truth was remarkable enough without embellishment. Commander Eric Powell stood at the observation window of the newly established Earth Embassy on Vexter's homeworld. The massive city below was unlike anything on Earth structures that seemed to grow rather than be built, with organic curves and living components. Vehicles moved in 3 dimensions, following invisible air corridors. "Still hard to believe we're here," Lisa said, joining him at the window. "A year ago, we were surveying mineral deposits. Now we're helping shape interstellar diplomacy." Eric nodded. "It's been quite a journey. How is the translation project coming?" "Better than expected. Having direct access to 17 different language databases has accelerated our linguistics programs by decades. We can now communicate with most known species without depending on Vexter's translation technology." A door slid open, and Karen entered the room. She had been appointed as the chief scientific liaison between Earth and Vexter Empire. "You too need to see this," she said, activating a large display screen. The screen showed a map of known space, with dots representing different species and their territories. The yellow dots are species that have contacted Earth directly in the past month, requesting diplomatic relations. Eric whistled softly. There were dozens of yellow dots, far more than he had expected. "They're all approaching us the same way." Karen continued. "They've heard about the paradox species, physically unimposing yet genetically formidable, technologically developing yet morally advanced." "The paradox species. Is that what they're calling us now?" Lisa asked. "Among other things," Karen said with a smile. "Some call us the Blessed Ones, or Migthi's children. The important thing is that they're approaching us with respect, not as potential conquests." Eric studied the map. "Are these approaches genuine or just fear-based?" "Both," Karen admitted. "Some genuinely want to learn from us. Others are just covering their bases in case we turn out to be dangerous. But either way, It's better than the alternative. Vexter told me that before our meeting, at least 3 predatory species were considering Earth as a potential target. The door opened again, and Alan entered. He looked different, now more confident, less reserved. As the living symbol of humanity's unique place in the galaxy, he had been thrust into a diplomatic role he never expected, but had grown into admirably. The Rexel delegation has arrived, he announced. They're particularly interested in meeting me. Apparently, they have legends about creatures with death in their blood that sound remarkably like the Meekthi. How are you holding up with all this attention? Eric asked. Alan shrugged, still getting used to it. But the research makes it worthwhile. The research he referred to was a massive collaborative project studying Miller-Jensen syndrome and its variations. Scientists had discovered that the 7 million humans carrying the condition produced slightly different compounds that affected various aggressive species across the galaxy in different ways. The latest findings from the research team are fascinating, Karan said. It seems the Meekthi didn't just visit Earth once. Evidence suggests multiple visits over thousands of years, with deliberate genetic modifications to human populations. Around the world. Why would they do that? Lisa asked. We think they were creating a genetic safeguard, Karan explained. The Meekthi were apparently peaceful but far-seeing. They may have anticipated that other predatory species would eventually reach Earth and wanted to ensure humans had natural protection. A gift from long-extinct alien rabbits, Eric mused. Not what I expected when I joined the Space Corps. A soft chime indicated another visitor. The door opened to reveal Vexter, now wearing an ornate diplomatic vestment rather than battle armor. Even after months of meetings, the sight of the massive alien predator still inspired awe. My friends, Vexter greeted them. The Galactic Council session begins in 1 hour. We should prepare. The Galactic Council was a new institution, formed after Vexter's surprising change of approach. It included representatives from all 17 systems formerly under Vexter's rule, plus Earth and several independent worlds that had joined voluntarily. Is the declaration ready? Eric asked. Vexter's scales rippled with blue and gold colors that they now recognized as expressions of pleasure. Yes, the Declaration of Mutual Respect has been translated into all member languages. It will be the first unanimous resolution in the Council's short history. The Declaration formalized a new approach to interspecies relations, one based on respect for biological and cultural differences rather than dominance. It established protected status for developing worlds and prohibited forced subjugation of any sentient species. There is something else I wish to discuss, Vexter said, turning to Alan. My scientists have been studying the Meekthi in greater detail. They believe they can now synthesize compounds similar to those produced by your condition. Alan looked surprised. Why would you want to do that? Wouldn't it be dangerous for your species? In large doses, yes, Vexter acknowledged. But in carefully controlled amounts, it appears to have beneficial effects on our aggressive tendencies without harming us. It allows clearer thinking, less reactive behavior. You're talking about medication for your species, Karen realized. In a sense, Vexter agreed. For generations, we accepted our predatory nature as fixed. Now we see it can be modulated. Not eliminated, that would deny our essential nature, but balanced. Many of my kind wish to try this, especially those in diplomatic roles. Alan considered this. From a medical perspective, it's fascinating. A condition considered meaningless on Earth becomes life-changing medication for another species. Later, that day, the group traveled to the Galactic Council Chamber, a magnificent structure built specifically for the new organization. Representatives from 23 worlds filled the chamber, a diverse collection of life forms that would have been unimaginable to humans just a year earlier. As Alan took his place in the Earth delegation, he reflected on the strange journey that had brought him here. His condition, once just a footnote in his medical records, had become the foundation for a new chapter in galactic history. The council session began with Vexther, as founding member, addressing the assembly. We gather today not as conquerors and conquered, but as equals. Each species brings unique strengths and perspectives. Together, we are stronger than any could be alone. The declaration was presented, discussed, and ultimately approved unanimously. It wasn't a guarantee of peace throughout the galaxy. Many threats and challenges remained. But it was a beginning dot as the session concluded. Eric found a moment alone with Alan. When we first met Vexther on that dusty planet, did you ever imagine it would lead to this? Alan shook his head. Never. I was just a doctor with a weird biochemistry. Now, apparently, I'm some kind of galactic diplomat. Not just a diplomat, Eric corrected him. A symbol, the living embodiment of humanity's unique role in the cosmos apex predators who chose to bow to reason rather than rule through fear. Alan smiled slightly. Well, when you put it that way, it sounds almost poetic. History often is, Eric replied, especially when it's being made. As they rejoined the larger group, news was already spreading through the galaxy's communication. Networks, the story of how a human made the most feared predator in known space bow, would be told for generations. The reason would indeed shock many, not because of the power of a toxin, but because of the power of a new idea. That cooperation might be the ultimate evolutionary advantage.